Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic in our beautiful MusicTown studios here on the second floor of Hockeytown in downtown Detroit. Welcome. Appreciate you tuning in for another great edition as I bring in local artists to hear what they have to say, what they're up to, and hear some great music. And today's special guest, Pete Big Dog Fetters.
Woof,
Hi, Pete.
Woof, woof. Hi, Pam.
How are you?
Excellent. Good to be here.
Yes, it's been a while since I've had you on one of my shows.
Yep, quite a few years actually. So yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, well, good. And I think you sent me some new stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, let's get Pete back on here. And
Yep. Did a new recording, and I guess these days they call it an EP.
Yes.
There's 6 songs on there, so getting out and promoting that and playing the music for folks. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, we'll kind of back up a little bit, so for people who may not know what you are all about,
Okay.
Let's start with the name Big Dog. Where in the heck does that come from?
Actually, years and years ago, I wrote a song called "Be a Big Dog," kind of a, I guess you'd say, a life philosophy, and I started playing it, and so people started calling me Big Dog.
Okay.
And it was interesting because in this business, it seems like if you have a little bit of a handle like that, people will remember that better than they remember your name. You know,
That's true.
Hey,
Yeah.
this is Pete Fetters calling you. Who? Big Dog. Oh yeah, Big Dog. so I figured, since that was happening, well, I figured just hang on to it and use
May as
it.
well.
So yeah.
Hey, if it helps to get people remembering you and your music and all that, go for it. So
Absolutely.
how long ago was that?
Oh boy, that was probably a good maybe 25 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, good. Pete Big Dog Fetters.
Woof, 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 baby.
Do you have? I don't think you have a logo with a dog on it or anything, do you?
I did, and I haven't used it for a while. I had a younger brother who was not with us anymore, who was a graphic artist, and he did a logo for me, and I used it for a long time. It was kind of like a cartoon figure actually. It's a big dog. It looked like kind of like a Great Dane, standing up, dressed. If you can picture this,
Okay.
Dressed in black leather. Ears pointed up, dark sunglasses, and it was pretty cool. It was kind of funny, and I did use that for a long time, and I just haven't recently. But so yeah, one of those things.
Well, at least the name has stuck, and
Yes,
you're referred to lovingly as Big Dog.
I hope so.
Yes, we can only hope, right? Well, you've been doing this for a while. I remember reading that we talked about before. You started at a very early age. Of course, the singing and the guitar. Early preteen maybe with one of those, and
Yeah. I started singing. Actually, I was in a choir. When I was in 5th grade, my family was living in Royal Oak. And my folks were taking us to the Shrine of the Little Flower Catholic Church there. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I got involved in it. I don't have a great memory for stuff way back when. But I ended up in the choir. And, I was like 10 years old. And I got a lot of recognition because this was obviously before my voice changed. And I had a soprano voice that was amazing. I mean, I could hit notes that the girls couldn't even come close to.
Wow.
So I got a lot of, pats on the back and, hey, boy, this guy is really good, and blah, blah, blah. So that kind of, anytime you get some recognition like that, you want to continue doing what you're doing.
Right.
So, and my father was a great vocalist. He would sing around the house, and you would swear that you were hearing Bing Crosby. I mean, he was really, really good. So, I started singing, in the choir, and that kind of got me going with that. Didn't start guitar till I was probably 13, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
the perfect
harmonica.
age most boys start.
Yeah. And then harmonica when I was in college. But yeah, the guitar started about 13.
Okay.
And I remember my dad was the men's swimming coach at Michigan State University for a long time. And one year he recruited a young man to swim on his team who was from Florida. The guy came up and spent the summer at our house, and he went back home before school started that fall, and he left his record collection with us.
Ooh. How could he leave that?
Well, he was just going to be gone for a few weeks.
Oh, okay.
So when he was gone, I went through his records, and he had these records by this group that I'd never heard of before called the Beach Boys. So I put those things on and started playing, and that stuff just killed me. I mean, I would sit there for hours listening to those guys sing, and it's still, I still think they're probably one of the greatest vocal groups that ever, came down the pike. But that kind of really I thought, man, that's so cool. I want to do that.
Okay.
So that kind of got me pushed in that direction. The guitar playing, I was never a very good guitar player. I was more interested in being able to play well enough to accompany my singing, because that's what I wanted to do. More than anything else, I wanted to sing.
Okay.
Guitar, that's cool. And over the years, I've gotten much better at it. I can play decent now. Not like any of these guys around town here that play so well, but I can kind of hold my own.
Hold your own, yeah.
But again, it was more, to me, it was more about being able to have something to play, and I wasn't going to play the piano. We didn't have access to a piano, so the guitar was it for me.
Okay.
And if I could play some chords and sing along, that was cool. That's all I wanted to do.
Well, as long as you know 3 chords, you're good, right?
Yeah, right. Or as they say in country music, 3 chords and the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, that's good. A great way that you got started, and you just, someone leaves some records, they influence you, and you never know.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yep.
It's funny that you say you don't feel like you're that great of a guitar player. Or do you still feel that way now? Please don't say that.
Well, it's obviously it's a matter of degrees, and everything's relative. I mean, when you listen to, and I kind of gravitated toward blues music.
Right.
It was easier to play. When you really get into the blues music, you find out that the easy music is not always the easiest to play. I mean, you have to have a lot of feeling. You have to have a lot of phrasing. There's just a lot that goes into it. And over the years, I thought, well, I need to get better at this. So when I started playing slide guitar, I literally spent 8 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 months to get a handle on playing this thing. Okay, and when I got done at the end of 6 months, I felt like I could do this reasonably well. Okay, and that was quite a few years ago.
Okay.
So I think I've continued to improve. But when you turn on the radio station and you're listening to blues music, there are so many fantastic players out there that, I think those guys have probably forgotten more than I'm ever going to know about playing the guitar. I mean, they're that good. And we have a number of them here in town, that are just great to go listen to. And the other thing that was a big thing about me is when I started running a band. Okay, now I've got to go out and I've got to hire musicians to play behind me when I have a job.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you don't have a lot of name recognition, the jobs don't pay all that well. So if I can hire fewer people, that means we all make more money. Okay? So when I got to the point where I thought, well, I can handle the guitar job in this band well enough. So now I don't have to hire a guitar player.
Okay, makes sense.
So that was another reason why I wanted to get better at it, so that I could, make that jump. And it's always great when you have a big full band of people to play music with. It's so much fun, But when it comes down to people trying to make a living, at playing, and you want to be able to pay them a reasonable, pay to work with you, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and not have so many people in the band.
Right.
It's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is, so.
When hearing you talk, and I was like, okay, I got to look at my notes, because I realized, and here it is, 2006, you won the Detroit Blues Challenge, and then went on to the International Blues Challenge in Memphis, Tennessee.
I did.
So to me, that's you're a pretty darn good guitar player, and you're talking as if you don't feel like maybe you are.
Yeah, that was a nice thing to be able to do. And again, I think especially when you're a solo entertainer, I think people are looking at the whole package.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're looking at your vocal ability, your ability on your instrument. If you're a writer and you're writing good songs, then that's icing on the cake.
Okay.
So when you look at the whole thing, there might not be one thing that stands out to be like, whoa, but the whole thing together,
okay, I get you.
It can be pretty good.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. How about if we hear a song?
Sure, love to.
Now, is this one of your newer ones, or?
This is one off the new EP.
Okay.
And it's a song called Chained to the Porch.
All right.
Me and the fellas had a boys' night out not too long ago. All us married men at a club where the girls take off their clothes. It were nothing but good, clean fun, bourbon and fine cigars. Hey man, just 'cause you're chained to the porch don't mean you can't bark at them cars. Don't mean you can't bark at them cars. Oh baby, you know what I'm talking about. Woo! I quit all my running around the day I met my wife. Stopped chasing, went on vacation from the single life. But I still like looking at the pretty girls, from models to movie stars. Hey man, just 'cause you're chained to the porch don't mean you can't bark at them cars. Don't mean you can't bark at them cars. Oh yeah. Now I married a woman who loves me, true as the day is long. She goes out with her girlfriends, I don't see nothing wrong. If they end up at a club where the men show off their cookie jars, hey ladies, just 'cause you're chained to the porch don't mean you can't bark at them cars. Don't mean you can't bark at them cars. Oh yeah. Ow, woo. Chained to the porch, baby.
There you go. You got it's just watching you. First of all, the whole look. You know, got the blue cowboy boots. You know, the cool leather jacket, the hat going, the shades. I mean, you got this look going, and then you got these the snakeskin guitar and the harmonica. Got a little percussion going down there. I mean, it's like one. You got the whole thing here.
Is it working for you, Pam?
Yeah, it's
Is it
working.
working?
Yeah, it's working.
Good.
Yeah, it's like, and we were talking about before we went live. You know, the harmonica holder is like, you know, it's what's the word I want? It's not your typical harmonica holder. It's really
It's amplified.
amplified,
Amplified is what it is. Right.
you know, you get the little jack going out here, and you're saying you can go plug it in. It's got a volume on it and everything. It's like, wow, I never saw one of those before. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I actually the first time I saw it, it was being used by a guy who played harmonica for Muddy Waters, and his name was Paul Osher, and Paul was the first white musician to play in a black blues band in Chicago back in the early '60s, I think it was. And Paul was really, really good. And Muddy Waters used to introduce him as his white son. And Paul traveled all over the world with Muddy. And now Paul is still working, and he does basically this. And he was looking for something that he could use to get that same sound he had when he was playing with Muddy, you know, holding the harmonica in his hand. But Paul's also a really good guitar player. So he found this company in Germany that makes these things. And when you plug it into your little amplifier, it sounds like $1 million. It sounds just like the harp that these guys use, you know, when they're playing with the band.
Right.
So, because a lot of times if you don't have this, the harmonica can be kind of thin, you know, not as robust as you would like. you know.
Yeah.
So this thing makes a big difference. It looks kind of funky at times because it's so big, you know. It's just this big thing.
Hey, but it works.
In front of your face, you know, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Kind of blocks your beautiful smile, but you know, yeah, it works really well.
Yeah,
So-
you can tell the difference when you're just playing now. That was, a little more oomph to the
Yeah,
guitar.
oh,
to
sure.
The harmonica, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice,
absolutely,
nice.
yeah.
And your eBay guitar.
My
you were
eBay
saying.
guitar.
That one
yeah.
cracks me up. It's a really cool looking
Thank you,
guitar.
thank you.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got this new. That was a new one, and you is this your counting EP and LP 6?
Oh, I think there's been more than
Oh,
that.
okay.
Probably maybe closer to 9 or 10.
Oh, okay.
The first few, I really sometimes don't like to acknowledge because
Why?
they weren't that strong.
Ah.
I was just getting into the business. I was just learning my way around, you know, playing these instruments. And in the studio, you go into the studio, it's a whole different ballgame. So I was just kind of getting started, and
Okay.
you know, I figured I'm going to just jump into this thing, and I'm not going to wait around. And so that's what I did. So the first few recordings are not, like I said, I don't think they're that strong. So I kind of like to put them in the background.
Well, it's a good way for people to see, wow, you know how you've progressed.
Well, that's true too.
That's
Yeah,
one way
sure.
to look at it, and
Sure.
you know, those might be worth something because they were the first ones.
Yeah,
You
sure.
never know.
Yeah, that's true.
you
That's
know?
true.
I
Yeah.
mean, and do you go back and listen to those at all, or do you just forget about them at this point?
I don't. No, I don't. And at the times that I have, I've been looking for songs to re-record. Like this new recording that I had. There's a song on there that I had done years ago,
Uh-huh.
and it was always a fun song to play. And so I went back and listened to that recording again to make sure I was, getting the feel of what I had done. And but normally I don't go back and listen to them.
So have you re-recorded any of them or most of them, or
No,
None of 'em?
Not very many at all.
Okay.
No. So actually, there was two. There was two on this new one that I did.
and I've heard other artists say, those are done. Those are in the past.
Yeah.
Move on to new stuff and
Sure.
and try new things or whatever. It's the
Sure.
only way to grow, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think you're always, developing. At least I hope you are. Hope we are as
Yeah.
as entertainers and artists. Especially with the writing end of it. Songwriting. I spent a number of years living in Nashville, Tennessee. When I first started playing music professionally back in 1980, I was playing country music because at that time that was when urban cowboy was the big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had a country band, you could work a lot. Okay? So I was playing a lot of country music and ended up going down to Nashville and living there for a few years, trying to become a better songwriter. In the field of country music, the song is the king. Okay? I don't care how great a vocalist you are. If you don't have a great song, you're dead. Okay? So writing a good song is really, really important in that genre. And when I first started listening to blues music, one of the things that drew me to it were the stories in the songs. The language these people were using, it was unusual. It could be humorous. So I kind of gravitated toward that. And to me, again, getting back to the vocalist part of the thing, having something cool to sing, to me, is really, really important. I see a lot of people today that are more into playing the guitar or playing their instrument, and they do it really, really well. But I think a lot of times the song itself can suffer because they're not spending the time to really sit down and write something that is new. There's a saying down in Nashville that basically what you're doing when you're writing, especially a country song, is you're trying to come up with a new way to say I love you. All those songs are love songs, and you have to come up with a new way to say that. Okay, for example, you are the wind beneath my wings. Okay, that's another way of saying I love you.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got to, and people do have careers doing this. They work for a publishing company. They go into a room at 9 o'clock in the morning and they sit down and they start doodling on the piano, or the guitar, or whatever, trying to come up with like a hook musically, an idea lyrically that they can start working on. when their door closes, you know they've got something,
No.
and they're seriously working on
Oh,
whatever
really?
it is they're
Okay.
working on. Okay, and there might be a single guy in the room. There might be a couple of people or three people, co-writers that are working on stuff. But being able to do that, it's really, really difficult. It's a craft.
Yeah.
Okay, it's an art form. Songwriting it's to me it can be very, very tedious, and it's a hell of a lot of hard work. You sit there and you sit there and you sit there and try to come up with an idea that maybe nobody else has used before.
Right.
That you
Right.
can develop into a song, and it can just take. Sometimes it comes quick, but sometimes it takes days and weeks of working on an idea, and you put it away. And I mean, I've had things that I've written, and fortunately, I'll put them on the computer. And then when I'm looking for something to record, that idea I had was pretty good. I didn't really like the way I wrote it, so I'm going to go back and rewrite it. I like the idea, but now I'm going to do something different with it.
Yeah.
So, that's another way to go about it. But the whole songwriting aspect is just, to me, it's just crucial as far as putting something out there that people can relate to, that people want to listen to, whether it be something humorous, which is kind of the way I tend to go, as you can tell from that last tune. But again, a lot of people, they'll like the sentimental song or whatever it is, but it needs to speak to people. It needs to be something that's a little bit different and not the same old cliche stuff over and over.
What I think about songwriting as well, when you as a songwriter, you write these lyrics, but it can mean something different to somebody who listens to it. It can mean 20 different things to 20 different people, and that makes a good song.
Yeah.
It's when someone hears it, what that means to them and how it relates to them, and I think that's what makes a good song. Instead of just one little thought, and I like the way you put that, just how else can you say I love you, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How many rooms when you're, at like a publishing house, how many different rooms they have going with people trying to write? Is it?
Well, it obviously depends on the size of the publishing company, because there are huge companies that, crank these things out, and they have a staff of people that could be, 2 dozen, 3 dozen people.
Wow.
Then there are much smaller publishing companies that might only have 4 or 5 people working for them. So the people that run those companies, they're always on the lookout for new talent when it comes to songwriting, and it doesn't. That was one of the big things that I discovered when I went to Nashville. I would go out to these get-togethers, and I was sitting in an audience listening to people perform a song that they wrote that had been recorded by somebody else. And I was under the impression that the songwriters were going to be great vocalists too, and boy, they are not. So it doesn't really make any difference, if you can, but when it comes down to the writing, because, especially in a town like Nashville, a lot of those artists don't have time, because they're touring, they're working, they're doing all this stuff, to sit down and write. And so they depend on those writers in town to come up with the stuff for them,
Well, isn't it the ones that make the most money on a song are the songwriters, right? The royalties?
Well, sure, sure.
If you can be the songwriter?
Yeah. So,
Writing songs for different people, then, that's
yeah.
the way to go. So you learned a lot in Nashville that really, you think, helped your songwriting?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a thing that we would do where you would walk into this room and you would come with, back then it was cassette tapes. You would come with a tape that you had made at home that might have 2 or 3 songs on it, okay? And you would throw your tape into a box, all right? And you go sit down.
Okay.
And then the guys that were running this workshop would come in, and they would talk to you a little bit about, because most of these guys, had written great hit songs. They would talk about the craft and the art of songwriting, and then they would then when they would finish their presentation, they would start pulling tapes out of the box. Didn't say who it was, but they'd play the song, and then they'd sit there and critique it and tear it apart.
And you're like, not mine, not mine.
And yeah. When you first start doing that, and stuff that they would come up with, it didn't even cross your mind that you had done that. And this song, whoever wrote this song, you need to change this part here, you need to do this part here, and say this a little bit. And they were, like you said before, people hear something and then they interpret it a certain way.
Right.
And it's not how you intended it. you know?
Uh-huh.
And so you thought you had a great idea and it was working for you, but they heard it and go, what was that? What? You know, and like you said, you're kind of sinking down in your chair.
Do you ever did that ever happen where once you got the feedback, you went back and wrote a really really good song from that and
Well,
changed
sure.
things
I
up?
mean, you know, I don't know if I would call it a really, really good song, but you would definitely take those ideas and go home and use them,
Yeah.
you know, next time or rewrite what you had written. Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love the fact that they don't know who they're talking about. Just
Yeah.
could be anybody in this room, which is kind of makes it a little more interesting. I think that you don't feel like you're on the spotlight and you maybe have to answer a question. You know,
Mhm.
what were you thinking when you did this or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Oh, I didn't realize that's how they did that.
Yeah, well, you know, and not everybody does it that way, but that was one of the ways. And these guys that were doing the critiquing, phew, they didn't pull any punches, and they could be very. It was almost brutal at times, the critiques, and
Hmm.
it was but again, it was easier to take because nobody knows who they're talking about
Right, right.
specifically. You
Yeah.
know, so
Better that way. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
You know.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you got to be brutal
Yeah,
to,
well, yeah.
to learn and
Yep.
to grow. So, oh, well,
Yep.
very interesting. How about another song, Pete?
Sure.
All
Let me
right.
change harmonicas here real quick.
Okay, sure. How many different harmonicas do you own?
Well, I own probably, you can get harmonicas in every key.
Right.
So I think I probably have maybe 12 or 14 in different keys that I like to sing in.
Okay.
A lot of times I'll tell people that I bet you probably didn't know that harmonicas come in different flavors, did you? And then, see, you learn something every day. Oh, good, butterscotch.
And now, is this another one from your latest?
Yeah, this is the title song.
Okay.
It's called You Got the Right to Have the Blues. You ain't got a job, the rent's past due. You was messing around, and now your woman's late too. Well, I'd say you got the rights. I'd say you got the right. You got the right to have the blues. You got the right to have the blues. Dogs get to howling when you walk by. Yeah, the nearest cop. Oh, you wanna know why? Well, I'd say you got the rights. Yeah, you got the right. You got the right to have the blues. You got the right to have the blues. They say nobody love you like your mama. She just might be jiving you too. She left town with your best friend. I say you got the right, oh man, you got the right to have the blues. You got the right to have the blues. You ain't had a break in how many years? You ain't got no friends unless you buy the beers. Well, I'd say you got the rights. I'd say you got the right. You got the right to have the blues. You got the right to have the blues. Get you out of bed in the morning. They have lunch with you at noon. Just might be your new best friend. I say you got the right, oh man, you got the right to have the blues. 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 You got the right to have the blues.
Yes, we do. Nice, Pete.
Thank
Big
you.
Dog Fetters. You mentioned earlier about the band, getting a band together, but don't you play with a regular band as well, or just solo stuff?
Well, I probably do more solo stuff than I do with the band.
Okay.
And again, it gets back to the financial end of it. I've been fortunate enough to get booked at Motor City Casino, and we're playing there tonight, actually, in the Chromatics Lounge from 7 till 11.
Okay.
And when I get those types of jobs, I can afford to have a band with me, okay? But those are kind of few and far between, especially this time of year. When the summertime rolls around and people are doing festivals and things like that, then a lot of times I can, I get paid enough where I can have some people come with me.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate over the last number of years to be working with the same guys. A gentleman by the name of Charles David Stewart plays drums with me now. Chris Brown has been playing bass guitar, and Neil Donato has been playing piano and organ.
Okay.
And we've been playing together now for a few years, and so we kind of know where everybody else is going, and it fits pretty well together. So I think we're sounding pretty good.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of the situation right now. I wish we had more opportunities, but sometimes it can be kind of slim picking. So
Yeah, I realize that it's this time of year is more difficult for musicians getting gigs and stuff like that. So
Right.
I'm gonna go jump to my Pam exam.
Pam exam.
The Pam exam, yes.
Okay.
Just some random questions.
Okay.
Some things you may not have don't get a chance to talk about. Your most memorable music moment.
Most memorable music moment.
You've been doing this a long time. I'm sure you've got something.
Well, actually, this is a little bit different.
Okay.
I wrote a song for my youngest daughter when she was growing up. Her name is Casey, and I titled the song "Casey's Song." Right. So, and I hadn't really, it was on a recording, one of those recordings that I didn't really care too much about, except for that song I thought was pretty good. So, my daughter Casey got married 2 years ago. Yeah, it's been 2 years now, and so she asked me if we could do our father-daughter dance to that song.
Aw, that's sweet.
And it was really cool. It was really cool. We just had the DJ play the recording of that song, and we danced at her wedding to that song.
That
So
is
I
a
think-
very memorable moment.
So I think that's probably it. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's sweet. Is she a musician or into music?
No, she's not. No, she's a listener. She loves music. Does not play an instrument though. So no. Yeah.
Interesting when if kids of musicians if they pick up an instrument and stuff like that, and I mean especially they grew up with it in the house. So
Sure. Yeah.
well sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
All right, best kept secret in Metro Detroit.
Boy, it's got a secret in Metro Detroit. I think you might have me stumped on that one.
Oh,
And I might have to use the excuse that I've moved out of town. Back in July, I moved to Boyne City, Michigan.
oh yeah. I read that. I was like, what are you doing up there?
Well, I got a chance to move into this just gorgeous home up on a hill on 12 acres of land,
Oh,
and I just couldn't turn it down. I have some folks that I live with, and we've been living together now for the past 15 years or so, and they kept talking to me. We should go up north. And I kept thinking, no, I'm not going to do that. But this piece of property came up for sale, and we went up there and looked at it, and I went, we got a chance to get that? Wow. So now I'm basically commuting. I'm up there.
it's a long commute.
Well, it's 4 hours. It's not too bad. I'm up there and I'm trying to get my foot in the door up there at different places.
Okay.
They seem to be more in tune with an acoustic scene than what I do. So it's been kind of slow. So I come down here and I work for a week or two, and then I'll go back up and I'll stay at the house for a while, and then I'll come back down here and work for a week or two.
Sounds like a good place to get inspiration. It's like you're off in this beautiful setting, and
A lot of people up there that are in the music business look at it exactly that way. You know, during the spring and the summer and early fall, you know, you can do really well up there. But then when the winter comes, it's a time for like everybody to let's get creative. Whether you're playing music, writing songs, or building furniture, or whatever it is that you do during the winter, that's when we're going to do it.
Okay.
And then when the weather gets nice again and people show up again, now we're going to get out and we're going to show you what we've been doing all winter. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Unless you're out skiing, that is a
Unless
big
you're out
ski
skiing,
resort
and
area.
I'm not a skier, so
Okay.
I'll stay at home and write songs.
There you go. All right. First record you bought and first concert you attended.
First record I bought was probably it was surf guitar music. What was the name of the group that did Wipeout? Was it the
Ventures?
The Ventures? Yes. So they had a recording, and it was Wipeout was on there, and there was a bunch of those surf songs.
Yeah.
And I think that was right about the time when I got my very first electric guitar, and I thought those songs were just so great. So it was the Ventures.
Okay.
Yeah. What was the second part of that question?
First concert you attended.
First concert I went to. That's another one I'm not really sure about. I'm gonna say it might have been Willie Nelson. Went to see Willie way back when.
Okay.
Still a big fan of his, and it's so cool that he's still working.
Isn't it amazing that he
Yeah.
just
He just keeps going.
he just keeps going? Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like the Energizer Bunny for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And he's still, of course, he's got that gravelly voice, but and it still is the same. You know, it's not like he lost anything.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yep.
oh, that's a good one to see.
Yep.
All right, I wish I could fill in the blank. Deep thought here, Pete's in deep thought.
I'd like to be able to spend more time playing bigger venues with bigger audiences.
Okay.
I've done quite a bit of that over the years, but I think to be able to do it like on a consistent basis, to the point where maybe you've got like your whole summer booked and you're playing festivals all summer, stuff like that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Isn't that a dream of most musicians?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Like, where would you like to play right now? I mean, what are some of the?
Well, I mean, any kind of a big venue. I mean, to go out and even open for somebody like DTE would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of times you go to those shows you go to those shows as a member of the audience, and the opening act comes out on stage and people just aren't paying too much attention to the opening act, and they're still filing in as the opening act is finishing what their set, because everybody's there to see the headliner, obviously.
There's still a lot of people that.
But yeah, there is. There are.
Listen through the opener.
Yeah. So, but to be able to play some of those
Okay.
bigger venues would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Keep your fingers crossed there.
Yeah.
Is there a quote you live your life by or think of often?
I keep getting back to the business part of this whole thing, and I remember the story. Ray Charles. Story about Ray Charles. He had become Ray Charles. Everybody knew who he was. Big time entertainer. Paid his dues. The whole 9 yards. And somebody went to was driving by this might have been in Atlanta. Was driving by a grocery store opening a brand new grocery store, and they had a big flatbed truck out in front of the store. And who's sitting on top of the flatbed truck playing the piano? Ray Charles.
Wow.
And this guy that's telling the story, he goes up, he goes, "My God, aren't you Ray Charles?" Yeah. What the hell are you doing on the back of this truck for this grocery store opening? And he looked at the guy and says, "You know what? Any place that's paying, I'm playing." So when you're in this business, I think you have to be pretty flexible. You have to be, able to go to different places and do some different type of music, because what you really want to do, like in the case of a blues musician, a lot of times there's not a lot of opportunities. So if you can play some jazz standards, if you can play some country music, if you can, some other different types of music, you're going to get booked and you're going to work. Okay. And then the whole thing about, and then I think it was Albert Collins also had a business card, the great guitar player, Albert Collins. And on his guitar, it says, "You pay, I play." Okay. So a lot of these guys, as you're listening and you're and reading their story, there was so much struggle involved, to make ends meet, to keep the band together, to keep the show on the road.
Right.
And they were literally hand to mouth for so many years. And they finally got to the point where they were making some decent money, but it was never far from their mind all that time that they spent without it.
Right.
Okay. So it was a big, big deal to finally get to the point where I'm finally comfortable. I can pay my band. I can pay my bills. Isn't this great? But,
Well, and if you have a passion for it, who cares where you're playing, right?
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I play, I do kind of live by that philosophy. If you want to pay me, I'll show up and play. When I first started playing in front of people, I played for free. All right, just to be able to get up in front of people, because when I first started, I had incredible stage fright. I was just so afraid that I was going to make a mistake in front of an audience that boy, I tell you, it was rough. So I knew that if I was going to do it, I just had to get in front of people.
Yeah.
Just had to get in front of people. So I started playing at assisted living facilities for seniors. Okay, and after I kept doing it, and pretty soon I would go to these places, and they had just hired an activities director, and the activities director had been given a budget for entertainment, and now they started to pay me, and I still do that today. Okay, I have a whole hour's worth of old jazz standards, old country classic songs that I play for an audience that's in their 80s, sometimes 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, I did one last night.
They love it, I'm sure.
They absolutely love it.
Oh yeah.
It's a great experience, and the music. If you can pick songs that are interesting to you, okay, and they like to hear them too, then it's a win-win deal.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have to get up in front of somebody and sing "Tiptoe Through the Tulips" all afternoon, that's not going to be much fun. Yeah. So, but so many of these old jazz standards that are just such great songs, like "Georgia on My Mind" and songs like that, that they love to hear, and if you like to sing them, it's a great deal, So, I mean, I did one last night. I've got 3 or 4 more lined up for the rest of this week, And again, it's just another way to continue as a professional musician. A lot of times, it's so great of you to come in and play, and they think you're doing it, as a volunteer. Well, no, they're paying me. And I can only do it if they pay me. Okay? It's not like I'm coming and taking their meal money. Okay? But I have to have someone support me, otherwise I can't do this.
Well, they found also that for the elderly, the music really helps, especially, when it's the memory stuff, that's really...
I have some stories that probably the greatest one that I can probably tell you. I was playing at it was a nursing home. And a nursing home is quite a bit different than an assisted living or an independent, because those people are still able to do stuff for themselves.
Right.
Nursing homes, a lot of them, they can't. They're in pretty rough shape. And I came in to play at this nursing home, and there was a gentleman who was sitting in a chair over here. Actually, they wheeled him in the chair, and he didn't move. He just sat there. He was just like, I wouldn't say he was in a coma, but pretty darn close to it. And I started playing. His foot started to move.
Oh.
These people that were in the room, the nurses, the people that worked there, it's like, oh my God.
Ooh,
John just moved.
Huh.
Okay? Not only did John just move, after about 15 minutes, he stood up.
What?
This was like, no, don't call me Jesus Christ. I'm not raising people from the dead, okay? But it was kind of like that. It was like this guy had spent literally months, maybe years, in this catatonic state, and I came in and was playing music, and he got up and started moving.
Wow.
It was just like, whoa.
Do you remember what you were playing?
I don't. I try when I go in and I play for these folks. The majority of the stuff I do, I try to keep it up tempo.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll get up and dance if they can, and they're moving around. And if they can't get up and dance, they're dancing at their table.
Yeah,
They're banging their hands on their feet or whatever. So most of it I try to keep up tempo. Maybe every fourth or fifth song, I'll play something that's really pretty, and I'll have people in tears. And the first time that happened, I thought, oh God, what did I do? I swear to God, there were some women in the back of the room that were boo-hooing like you wouldn't believe. And I thought, oh my God, what did I do? So and actually when I got done, I went back to apologize to them, and they said, oh, no. It was beautiful.
Oh,
it
happy tears.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
It was so beautiful. We couldn't, So you get that too, and it's just a great.
Well, so why do you keep doing this? Really,
Yeah.
really, that's got to fill you up.
Sure it does.
Oh
the
my gosh.
payoff is just,
So what happened when John stood up? I mean, did everyone just freak out? And
Oh yeah, sure. It was like the whole. They were running down the hall, getting other people to come and look at this. You need to come and see this. Look, because he hasn't been. He's never. It was incredible.
Wow.
It was incredible. Yeah. It was just.
Good for you.
Just
I mean,
so.
you've put a nice, for a moment of their day.
Yep.
You can make them feel good and feel alive again. Because I know what those nursing homes can be like. And,
it can be pretty tough. Yeah. So when you're driving and then you've got to unload all your equipment and you got to go set it up and then you got to tear it all down and you drive. When you get a reaction like that, it makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's just even and then some.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, this next question is kind of on that line. It could be you've already answered, but what puts you in your happy place?
I can be in my happy place, just sitting with the guitar and singing. Doesn't need to be anybody else in the room.
Mm-hmm.
If there is somebody and they're appreciating what I'm doing, that's just icing on the cake. But just to be able to sit and sing,
yeah,
to me,
even just to yourself,
just to myself, yeah. And I don't know what that is. It's when you get that tone and you get that vibration coming out of you, it's just like this endorphin thing just kind of kicks in, and you can just sit there and next thing you know, oh shit, it's 3 hours later. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Oh shoot, it's 3 hours later. Where'd the time go?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. One more song, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Sure. Changing another. Yeah.
Well, we're getting into the afternoon here, so I think it's okay to do this song.
Oh, absolutely.
This song, because it's a drinking song.
Oh, okay. Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
So the name of the song is If Beer Was a Woman. It's easier to start your day if you know it's gonna end with beer. It's easier to start your day if you know it's gonna end with beer. Beer makes you feel the way you ought to feel without beer. You know that beer is not just for breakfast anymore. I say that beer, it's not just for breakfast anymore. So you're good to go any time of the day or night you want to pour. Sad and lonely, beer can be the cure. If you're feeling sad and lonely, beer can be the cure. Hell, if beer was a woman, I'd be married for sure. feeling sad and lonely, beer can be the cure. You know, if beer was a woman, man, I'd been married for sure. Hey.
Very good. So this new EP is available everywhere, right? Or no? Where's? Or let me rephrase it. Where is your new EP available?
Yeah, probably the best thing. Well, it's on all of the streaming platforms.
Okay.
So, and it seems to be like that's the way people are getting their music anymore,
Right.
rather than going out and buying a CD or whatever. So, I mean, it's on everything from Spotify to Pandora to everywhere. Okay. So that's probably the best thing to do. I mean, whatever it is that people use to grab their songs, they can just put in Pete and Big Dog Fetters, and it'll pop up.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a big show tonight?
Yep, the show tonight at Motor City Casino and Chromatics Lounge. We start at 7. We do 3 shows, 3 one-hour shows. So we're there from 7 until 11.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
There's a lot of noise going on in a casino. I don't know if that where you're playing in the lounge area, if you can hear all the slots and the ding dings and all that going on. If that's distracting or not.
No, not really. I mean, you're in we're kind of like back in a corner a little bit, and
Okay.
they've got a nice big stage, and there's an area out in front of us that's people use as a dance floor and whatever. Like in between songs, you can hear that stuff.
Yeah.
But since you're on a big stage and you've got a pretty good room, I mean, they let us crank up pretty good.
Oh, okay.
So when we're playing, we're not hearing anything
Okay.
else, So yeah.
Yeah, that would be distracting if
It would.
I mean, people are playing the slots and constant ding dings going on
Yeah.
as all the sounds of a casino.
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
but good. Okay. Have you played there before?
We've been going in there for once a month now for the last couple years. So
Nice when you have a regular gig like that.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'll have the guys you mentioned earlier.
Yep,
Those
yep,
they'll
they'll
be playing with
me
you
tonight. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Good.
It's always fun.
All right. That'll be fun. So, any last words you want to say to people who are watching out there today?
Just want to say hi to the folks in Boyne City. Hi, guys. And like we mentioned before, anybody that might want to grab the recording, I would surely appreciate the support. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And when you do these gigs like tonight, do you have any of the EPs or the CDs for sale?
Actually, the casinos don't allow you to sell product.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So you can't do that. I mean, I'll hand out business cards, and if anybody wants a CD, say go to my website or here, whatever.
Meet me in the back. I got some in my trunk after the show.
I'm always afraid that. I mean, that has crossed my mind, but I'm always afraid I'm going to get caught, and that'll be the last gig we have there.
Don't want to mess that up. Okay.
So, yeah.
Good point. Good point. Well, it's been fun. Thank you so much for coming in, Pete.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. Yeah,
again, what is your website so people can
It's
find you?
BigDogBlues.com. BigDogBlues.com.
Big Dog Blues. Can't get rid of that Big Dog, which is fine.
Yep.
Got to
sure.
keep that.
Something to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. BigDogBlues.com.
Yep.
Pete, Big Dog Fetters. Thanks for coming in. It's been,
Thanks for having me, Pam.
Some good stuff there. And again, the new EP out. So check out all his music on his website and all those places that he mentioned. And go see a show tonight.
Yes, please do. Yes. Yeah.
At the casino. So sounds good. So, and thanks to all of you out there for tuning in. We do appreciate that as we do this every week for another edition of Behind the Mic in our beautiful MusicTown studios here on the second floor of Hockeytown, downtown Detroit. Again, thanks for watching. Do appreciate it. I'm Pam Rossi. Until next time, have a great week.